has been very unwell lately. She said everything whilst recovering from COVID has been twice as difficult, as if training as a gymnast isn't hard enough. It's really hit her. But there is that lovely difficult work that characterises her on this piece. Now that's most interesting, because we've already seen that Romania have had a difficulty or two here and there. Is this an opportunity for Ukraine to make up a little ground? On the floor exercise, we carry on looking at the work of Czech Republic, Dominika Ponižilova. A third European Championships for the 18-year-old from Brno. All-around silver medalist at the National Championships. So it was a 12.1 for Bilge Tarhan on balance beam. She's down by just a couple of tenths plus from qualification. Now, calm down everyone. Lisa Iordaki of Romania on the uneven bars. So far, so good. Just a small adjustment. Well, well, well. She floats to earth and is looking very impressive. 13.1. She's down a little bit from qualification. Just by a few tenths or so. Twice a team champion at the European Championships. Anastasia Bachinska of Ukraine. 11.366 for this in qualification. Is there an opportunity here for Ukraine to pick up some marks, make up some ground? Just lost her leg form, and then as a result that wasn't the easiest release and catch to make. Jaeger was a little tidier. Does get considerable height going into that dismount and made a momentary loss of stability look very much part of a flourished landing. Pops back up there. Mark of an experienced athlete. On the subject of experienced athletes, right on cue, Göksu Uçtaşan of Turkey has qualified for the floor final. But if you're looking for a tale of a fantastic, inspirational story in gymnastics, you do well to look more closely at hers. Blighted by injury. We've got a few athletes who know what that's like at these championships, leading by example. Unfortunately, just lost her liner touch. She missed the Beijing Olympics due to a neck injury. In London, she could only do the balance beam as she was injured in training. Had a daughter, Lena, in 2015. Came back 11 months later to win the floor gold at the Mersin World Cup in this very place. She's won a fair few balance beam honours here as well. Really did attack the dismount. Seguici was a gold medalist on the balance beam at the Islamic Solidarity Games in Baku in 2017. So the action continues with Romania and Silviana Sviringu on the uneven bar. She's got a 12.266 for this in qualification. Lose her form, and when you lose your form you often lose your swingfulness as well. A remarkable story is Sviringu's, when she became the first Romanian junior to win the senior all-around national championships in 2018. She was just 14. So the Hungarian team competing on the balance beam. Team that was in third place coming into this rotation, trailing Ukraine by just 0.4 of a mark. Sofia Kovac scored 11.766 in qualification. This is where Hungary had some quite pronounced difficulties in qualifying. She has been winning balance beam competitions lately. National championships and the Masters championships. There's a lot packed into that. Mounting a real challenge is the team from Hungary. Last medal they won at the European Championships, the emotional gold on vault from Boglárka Devai in Glasgow. It's an 11.766 for Göksu Uçtaşan. Not able to really gain much from qualification, just a couple of tenths. It might have been hopeful Turkey of picking up a little bit more there. some scores to bring you updates on. So, Anastasia Motak, 13.033. She's up by a few tenths from qualification. More on that in a moment as we look at Aneta Holosova, the European Games silver medalist on the floor exercise. A very fine performance. Had a few difficulties here and there with some of the tumbling passes. Aneta Holosova, she's a captivating athlete to watch on the floor. Has a real sense of performance to her. A couple of the landings just hopping out of bounds. Now it's 12.533 for Zofia Kovac on the balance beam. That's a gain of almost a mark. Croatia's Ana Jerek competing on the floor. She scored 11.433 in qualification. The 22-year-old who is the reigning national champion on the floor exercise. 5th European Championships for her. She is, of course, best known for her work on a couple of pieces. Floor and balance beam, and she scores 11.166, so down by a few tenths from the qualification score. Now that's going to give us an opportunity just to take stock of what we've seen. Magdalena Kufalova, 11.466 for her. So a loss of 3 tenths from qualification. We are seeing a few tenths drop here and there for some of these gymnasts. That's going to be an interesting score to take note of. 9.8 for Stanciulescu on the uneven bars at 12.5 in qualification. I'm sure you remember the 1 mark lead that was being enjoyed by Romania at the start of the rotation. Varinska 13.233 on the uneven bars, up by not far off a mark from qualification. Anastasia Bachinska, score of 12.833, up by a mark and a half. Silviana Sviringui 12.166, down by a single tenth from the qualification score. Right, I'm sure you've got the hang of all of that. Let's just bring you a couple more numbers. 11.833 for Holosova. She is up from her scoring qualification. Whether it's possible for Turkey, Czech Republic and Croatia to chase any of these nations down, we shall find out. On the subject of chasing down, look at the top of the leaderboard, and what a turnaround that is. Ukraine have eaten up the mark, and they've added 3 as well. And suddenly they are in complete and utter control. Now, that has led us to a fascinating halfway point of this competition. Is it that Ukraine have got things locked up? Well, the top group now heads to balance beam. Nothing surprising ever happens on there. So let us not to count chickens before they are hatched. Just a brief moment of calmness here in the Mersin Gymnastics Hall, which was built for the Mediterranean Games of 2013. Czech Republic and Croatia make their way across to the vault. Gap has grown between the top 2 and 3rd place. Hungary are now almost sitting in their own little medal category. Whether they can chase away and challenge Romania, who are currently in 2nd place, we shall find out in due course. Hungary do conclude their competition vaulting, so they may feel, as long as they can just get to the final rotation in touching distance with has been training at the National Olympic Centre for about 4 years. Started her training at the CSS Birlad club in her hometown. Well, it's time for Romania to really now be steady hands on the balance beam and make a chase for this. Just about. Did rather lose the form, particularly in the back leg. It is fair to say that one can feel the nerves here. And she is through the routine. Daniela Trica of Romania. There are some clear deductions to be calculated for losses of form. We will return to the balance beam in due course. We'll now head to the vault and a look at Czech Republic, represented by Magdalena Kuvalova. .966, down just a tenth from qualification. She was the junior national champion on vault last year. Turkey, who currently find themselves in 4th position, where they were at the end of the first rotation. Representing them is Cemre Gendurcu. She scored 12.033 in qualification. It certainly appears that Cemre Kendurca is increasing in confidence as the competition goes. And we expect this to be the final performance from her. She's not down to do vault as things stand, though she was the Mediterranean champion in Cagliari last year on the vault. Slightly different reactions from teammates. 12.466, Daniela Trica. Down by 0.4 from her score in qualification. At the moment, the numbers, to put it gently, are not favouring Romania. Long way to go. Anastasia Motak scored 12.733 in her qualification performance. National champion on the balance beam. This is a real test of a young athlete through that difficult sequence. Okay. Well, it took a while, didn't it? Looked as though she'd saved herself, but that was very difficult to arrest. Step forward as she lands. The deduction as well for exiting the apparatus early. We'll come back to that as we look at a very consistent display there from Cemre Kendurca, 12.033 on floor. Exactly as she performed in qualification. Really nice to see her deliver the sort of display that we knew she could in this competition. Now Petra Furac of Croatia competing on vault. She scored a 12.5 in qualification. 11.733 was her qualification score. Makovic, a gymnast who, like a lot of juniors, benefited from a little bit of time away from the sport a couple of years ago to decide that it was really what she wanted to do. And apologies, I think you heard a combination of her floor music, someone else's floor music and no floor music there, which didn't make life particularly easy. It's 11.833 for Anastasia Motak on the balance beam. So what we've just seen there is Romania just take away around about 3/4 of that mark. 3/4 of a mark that they had needed to chase down. It's 3 marks in total. Now we look at Bilge Tahan. 12.166 for this in qualification. One has to remember when looking at a gymnast like Bilge Tahan, when looking at most of the Turkey squad, they are gymnasts who are really starting their journey as senior athletes, and that was promising work. Now we go to the balance beam, where the real drama in this competition is unfolding. Anastasia Bachinska looked like she was heading off the apparatus. Silviana Sviringu scored 12.366. Much more settled now. Well, Ukraine, yeah, absolutely. Oh, she's just said what I was going to, but in a far more eloquent way. We'll leave it at that. Bilge Tahan, 12.033. Dorina Bertziger of Hungary, very experienced athlete competing on floor, the 28-year-old. This is remarkable to think that she had shoulder surgery and only started training again in August. Graduate of physical education and sports science. Made a big move, Darina Bertziger, a couple of years ago when she switched clubs. Come back to that in a little while. Now Bachinska 12.7, down by a few tenths from her scoring qualification, but we're now starting to get more concerned with what kind of cushion Ukraine are building up. Larisa Yordake scored 13.633 for this routine in qualification. If she can get that number here, if. Was the champion in 2013 on the balance beam. That's big work, and it's great work. There's such elegance and style to that walkover. Simple things done well too. Yes, indeed. First international competition for 3 years, and the years roll back as Romania starts to believe again. Their last team title, 2014. They needed a big performance there from Yordake. They may just have got it. Really, one simply has to watch the work of Göksu Uçtaşan on floor in Mersin, because she's won so many gold medals over the years in this very building. She will compete in the floor final. There is a musicality to the way that the 30-year-old performs that can set her quite apart from some of the other athletes that we watch. An assurance, lots of experience, of course, that she has, but more than that, also a real love of the artistic elements of the sport. What an inspiration she is to them, to these young gymnasts. Hang on a minute. 14.133 the score for Yordake. And she has gained the best part of half a mark from qualification. It's a big number as well. Now to Diana Warinska, who scored 11.966 in qualification. She had some real difficulties. Bronze medalist at the European Games. But as I mentioned earlier, she has been unwell, very unwell. She's found the recovery from having the coronavirus has made everything so much harder. She said training has been twice as difficult. But she said even though she's only been back for a few weeks, never considered not coming here, wanted to be here. Just avoided the hand going down. Is it going to come down to margins that fine? Romania asks the question, Ukraine replies. We have some way still to go, don't we, in this women's team final? The score, 12.533. Going to take stock of the numeracy in just a moment. Petra Furac, who we saw earlier on the vault, 12.733 for her. That's up by a couple of tenths from qualifying as Croatia seek to improve upon being the 6th strongest in qualifying. 11.033 for Metel Makovic on the floor exercise, and Darina Bertziger 12.666. That's very consistent. We're going to, because they do need to make up over 5 marks to receive a silver. Croatia and Czech Republic, they're taking to the uneven bars. Kristina Zwicker will be performing in that rotation. She is in the uneven bars final. But this is where the title will be decided. On the floor exercise, Romania and Ukraine. We start with Diana Warinska. It's now time to decide who's going to take this one. Will the dreams indeed be sweet? Are they made of performances like this? Whoever you're supporting in this final, you can have nothing but the greatest of respect for an athlete like Diana Warinska, who has been really up against it to get to this competition. Ece Yavuz of Turkey vaulting. And unfortunately for her, not able to match the 13.4 that she delivered in qualification. Hope that she's okay. It looks as though she is evidently in a fair bit of discomfort. It's a great shame to see in an athlete, especially when they're making their senior international debut. Came in as a late replacement for Nazli Savrambashi. So a slightly quiet atmosphere as a result of what we've just seen here. Just have another look back at it. Just got the legs a little bit crossed, and as she lands, really does compress down onto the front part of the foot. Sabina Halova for Czech Republic on the uneven bar. She scored 11.5 in qualifying. She won this event at the trials of the European Championships back in March. Simple work, but assured work from Sabina Halova. Czech Republic have no individual finalists competing tomorrow. Now to Antonia Duța of Romania on floor, only competing on this piece. She was 4th on the floor at the Junior European Championships a couple of years ago. Well, there was some very assured tumbling there from Duța. She twists with very strong form. Really going for height with the leaps. Some of her closer work to the apparatus was perhaps not quite as effective. Had a little bit of deviation of the x-axis on her wolf turns. Bilge Tahan, this was her finest work in qualification, 13.3 for her vault. And it will likely be a similar story here in the final. Vault silver medalist at the National Championships in March, her first senior medal. And now part of this Turkish team competing for the first time in a women's team final at the European Championships. Now the score for Diana Varinska, we're going to see now 12.466. So what will be interesting is when we get the score in for the first Romanian gymnast to compete on floor, Antonia Duța, we'll have an idea of what that means for the final standings as we have a look at Darina Bertsager vaulting. 13.3, a very helpful number for Hungary in their quest to secure this bronze medal. It's a 13.266 for Tarhan. That's really consistent work from her. 13.3 in qualification, as I mentioned earlier. This could be a big performance. Angelina Radivilova, real specialist on the floor, does some difficult tumbling. The reigning national champion on the floor exercise. They brought her out for this big performance. She will compete in the floor final. Will it be a big enough number? Has real amplitude in her tumbling work. Had a little loss of stability in some of the landings, which will carry some execution deductions. We head to Dilara Yurdash, who will be representing Turkey in the vault final. She scored 13.466 for this performance in qualification. And she is the reigning national champion on the vault. 16-year-old comes from the Konak district of Izmir, the same part of the city as Ferhat Arujan. And there's been some very stable vaulting going on from Turkey. Good toe point for the majority of that vault. A decent line centrally as well down the tramway. Now, just to let you know, the score for Antonia Dutzer was 12.8. What that means is that 0.334 of the deficit has been eaten up. It means that Ukraine now have a 0.8 advantage from 1.134. The next gymnast to try to mount an attack on that will be Ioana Stanciulescu. Junior European champion on the floor in 2018 in Glasgow. The reigning national champion, 13.066 in qualifying. It's going to be close. We really are in for a nail-biting finish to this women's team final. Memel turn, moving into the illusion turn. Not so tidy with parts of that sequence, particularly the transition. Judges looking for all of those irregularities of form in the tumbling passes as the Romanian team do what I'm sure many of you are doing at home, which is just screaming loudly and throwing things in the general direction of the television. Again, very consistent, 13.466, exactly as Yurttaş scored in qualifying. We'll take a break from the floor exercise now to head to the uneven bars. Czech Republic and Aneta Holosova going for real height with their first release and regrasp. Builds up the swing, didn't quite get the angle right, I think, as she was heading off the apparatus there into the layouts. As a result, just a little loss of form. A very accomplished vaulter for Hungary, Cenga Bacskói. Youth Olympic Games silver medalist in Buenos Aires, 13.3. She will be competing in the vault final. Now we have a number in for Angelina Radivilova. The number is 12.633. Radivilova is down by about 4/10 from qualification. Haven't yet got the score confirmed for Joanna Stanciulescu. So we go to Yelizaveta Hubarieva. It's a 13.033 for Stanciulescu. I'll let you get the calculators out in a moment. Silver medalist on the floor exercise at the National Championships in September. 16-year-old from Donetsk. Watching on the experienced Angelina Radivilova. Now, Zofia Kovac to vault. .14.2, certainly a leading contender for glory in the vault tomorrow. She will be participating in a couple of finals, and that score will do the absolute world of good to the gymnast from Hungary. Well then, Shall we finish as we began? And this began some time ago. Her story, full of some extremely difficult chapters for her to have written and for her to read back. But if she is to be successful at these European Championships, then it will be a book that has been worth writing. The gymnast who was part of the Romanian team that won the title in 2012 and 2014. We're waiting on the score for Elizaveta Hubiareva. But we now see as 12.533 is registered for Hubiareva. So about a 0.4 advantage is what Ukraine is defending as we head into this routine. She couldn't, could she? It is quite simply the most remarkable conclusion to this women's team final. And it had to come from her, didn't it? Larisa Iordache. The score required 12.933 plus. And it will be the title for Romania. The gymnast who's had 3 surgeries on her Achilles. A gymnast who said not so long ago it was 50-50 as to whether she would even perform again, whether she would ever take to the floor. Well, it's in the balance now, but it's in the balance in a different way. It's the kind of 50-50 that she's used to and the kind of 50-50 that she tends to come out on the winning side of. There we have confirmation of the 12.8 for Antonia Dutza. That was the one that took the advantage down from 1.134 to 0.8. Then Radivilova and Stanciulescu got the advantage for Ukraine to 0.4. So already 3/4 of a mark removed. Now she waits for the final score to come in. Is it Ukraine? Is it Romania? This is agony, but it's a better kind of agony. A better kind of agony than she's used to. 3 of them look quite relaxed. We'll make that 2.5. I think Radivilova's got a little bit more nervous now. Watching and waiting. It's come down to the final score. Hungary also part of this journey. Waiting for confirmation of their place on the podium. As things currently stand, Hungary are sitting in the silver medal position. It's Ukraine, Hungary, Turkey, but we do have this Romania score to come in, and a reminder that they're looking for a score of 12.933, and I think you can see that the numbers have favoured Ukraine. And it is close. It is very, very close. Hungary, the bronze medalists, I think they've just realised that now. We'll bring you the exact number just as soon as it's confirmed, and it's showing up at the moment as a 12.766 for Yordaki. So there we go. Ukraine 154.663, Romania 154.496. What an absolutely extraordinary finish to this competition. The gap 0.167. Well, the Romanians have got themselves a medal in any case, and for many of these athletes, it is the very first one. Not for Yordaki, but she is back on the podium once again, and the tears flow because Romania have returned to a European Championship team podium. And what about Ukraine? For the first time ever, they are the champions. Two-time silver medalists, but no team medal since 2004. And for Hungary, their very first ever. They were 8th in Glasgow, 8th in 2016 in Switzerland. Well, the Ukrainian team have done exactly what the men's team did, which is come in as the second strongest in qualification and walk away with the gold medal. Hungary will take their place on the podium in just a short while as well. And let's just take a moment to look back at some of the action from this women's team final, a team final that was separated in the end when it came to gold and silver by less than 0.2 of a mark. Can you believe it? It was a women's team final that kept us guessing from start to finish. The early pace set by Romania. They then had difficulties on the uneven bars, and Ukraine picked up a massive advantage. They almost lost that advantage. They held on by 0.167. And we will have in just a short while the victory ceremony for this women's team final. Turkish team finishing in 4th place in their home championships. Some signs of real promise from some of these young athletes. And it has to be a glorious moment for her, for Angelina Radivilova, her biggest honours. The 2011 Universiade, she was a team silver medalist there and a bronze medalist on the uneven bars. She is now a European champion. She is a European champion. We have the presentation first of the Shooting Star Award. For a gymnast who has a particularly inspirational story. I'm sure you have worked out now. It is energetic of Croatia, which is being honoured. Croatia's energetic recipient of the Shooting Star Award. 22-year-old from Split, the second largest city in Croatia, who has secured her place at the Olympic Games in Tokyo, courtesy of the World Championships. I don't mind. Keeping my hand over the crack down the centre of it. Studying for a degree in teaching at the University of Split. Energetic. It's a great inspiration to young gymnasts. It's also the young gymnasts, of course. And it is now time for the victory ceremony in the women's team competition at the European Championships of Artistic and Gymnastics 2020. Yes, she is back. And she just realised it. Well, all of this is the sight of one key moment in history. Hungary have just won their first ever team medal. Fantastic performance by both the men's and women's teams at these European Championships. They join their counterparts from last weekend on the podium receiving a bronze medal. Receiving the silver medal, the Romanian team led inspirationally by Seguici, back competing for the first time in 3 years alongside these young gymnasts, them all 16. But Ukraine high Olympic by less than 2 tenths in a real good nail fighter. They've got their veterans too. They've got their youngsters too. And they've got their gold medals too. So the medals to be presented to represented their country, Gdanka Pachkoy, Marina Buksuga, Sofia Kovac, Mitil Makovic, and Tobias Sekai. To Romania, represented by Antonia Susta, Alisei Odaki, Silviana Ziringu, Ioana Stanculescu, and Daniela Yerka. And to Ukraine, the gold medalists, receiving their medals, Anastasia Bachinska, Elizaveta Boyareva, Anastasia Motak, Angelina Radivillova, and Diana Valinska. And we will hear as a result of the national anthem of Ukraine. There they are. The gold medalists Ukraine in the women's team competition at the 2020 Women's Artistic Gymnastics European Championships. Bronze medalists from Hungary and silver medalists from Romania. Kind of drama that we love to see in a team final. Maybe if you're supporting one of the two nations, you don't love to see it, but there was a real battle for gold and silver. Steeliness and determination from Hungary in holding on to ensure that they kept their bronze medal. Bronze medal that looked like it was theirs really from the first rotation. So we have still so much more to come. Tomorrow, 4 apparatus finals take place here in Mersin. I'll leave you to take a moment to calm yourselves down, steady your nerves, and to look back at some of the moments of this women's team final here in the Mersin Gymnastics Hall. It's been a pleasure having your company today. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. I can only hope, and it's goodbye, but not farewell.